seeing us here on Morning Live.
Good morning.
All right, so a new initiative. It's not really new. Crime Line has been around for a while, but let's talk about this angle that we're trying to highlight now.
I think what we're trying to do with Crime Line initiative is to give the South African Police Services and indeed the Department of Education more information to be able to effectively combat crimes or potential crimes that could be committed in our schools. You would be aware that I launched this initiative at a school in Kagiso called Masopatsela Secondary last week. And this is a school where 2 learners were found in possession of a stolen firearm. And the principal was able to act on this particular incident because they received information that this gun was on school premises.
Yeah.
And I think what we came to realize is that learners have information. They know about knives, guns, drugs, alcohol on school premises. They know about attacks that might be planned. And they need a safe, anonymous way that they are able to report these attacks to the authorities. So we are going to be making use of both the SMS service and also the toll-free Crime Line number. And learners can phone in. They don't have to identify themselves. All they have to tell us is what is happening, where is it happening.
Okay, and then you will obviously, as Crime Line works, an officer or police will be dispatched to the scene and hopefully curb it. Because, you know, you find that we're seeing all of this video footage of incidences that are happening at schools on the internet, on YouTube, being circulated between people. So the cell phone is there, but it's not being used for good. It's almost being used for bad. It's that, I mean, let's take that Glen Vista incident, for instance. I mean, there was somebody filming the entire incident, and yet nothing was done to try and prevent it. Where do you think this is all coming from?
Look, what we all know is that we live in quite a violent society, and we know in our society in general, people use violence as a means of solving problems. It's not something that we want to encourage amongst young people. And what we want to be able to do is to give those who are responsible, because we know there are many responsible citizens out there in our schools and in society. We want to give them an opportunity to report, but we also want them to feel that they are not going to put themselves at risk if they report criminal activities.
Yeah, because I think that's the problem, and especially in a school environment, I suppose, you know, it's that peer pressure that you also don't want anybody to know. You don't want to go to the principal, you don't want to be the one that actually caused any problems, but doing something like this, you're remaining anonymous. It's a simple SMS.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, we have an existing school safety strategy, and all of our schools are linked to police stations. This enables us to have a rapid response should there be incidents. But I think what's really important in fighting crime in any situation is intelligence and information. And that's what this particular initiative allows us.
Okay. How's it going to work? Are you going to visit all of the schools? Obviously, we're talking Gauteng, but I imagine this is a nationwide campaign. Are you going to visit all of the schools and let them be aware that this is out there and this is what they must do?
Obviously, this service is available to anybody, anywhere in the country, in any school, whether a state school or a private school. So I think that's the first important thing to say. Secondly, what we are going to be doing in terms of our advocacy campaign is that we have 200 to 300 schools which we think are high-risk schools. And these are schools where we already have a range of preventive interventions, and we also have active police interventions. We do search and seizure operations and so on and so forth. So we will be starting with those schools where we will be running an advocacy campaign so that young people know this service is available and they can participate in it. Gradually we will be extending that advocacy campaign in partnership with Crime Line to all the schools in the province.
Okay. Now, you know, it takes a campaign like this, and it's a fantastic idea. Let's talk about something that you've mentioned already, the security structures that are already in place. I mean, how do pupils actually get guns into school? I mean, shouldn't that be, shouldn't that be the thing that's checked, and that should not be allowed, full stop, never mind a crime line. I mean, that's, how do guns get onto a school premises?
Well, I mean, in this particular incident, what we're told is that these learners were involved in some other kinds of activities in the community, and it just happened to be convenient to have this weapon with them. But I think that, and you know, obviously that's what we want to be able to deal with, is where there might be criminal activity or gang-related activity. We don't want that activity spilling over into school premises. But obviously, Leanne, you would know that we would have to have a policing aspect to this. We also have to have a preventive aspect to this. So we also have a partnership with the Department of Social Development. They've given us recently the first of 25 social workers to work directly in schools. And you would know that in many of these incidents, what we're dealing with is children who are coming from very problematic home backgrounds.
Yeah.
So these social workers would then be in a position to go into the family circumstances, because very often a learner who might engage in criminal activity has a history of poor discipline in schools. So what we're wanting to do is to be able to act on the social circumstances where necessary, but also we're wanting to be able to say to learners, we're not going to tolerate this kind of thing. If it happens, you can risk getting a criminal record, and you can risk police intervention.
Yeah. Let's talk about teachers now, because whenever I sit down and have a conversation with a teacher, they feel like their hands are tied. They feel like the pupils have the maximum control, and that there's actually no form of discipline left for them over pupils, that they can't discipline them, that the children run riot, and you know, they sit and throw the law in their face and say, well, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to hit me? You're not allowed to hit me. I'll report you. So what are you going to do about it? And this is where teachers are finding that their power has almost been taken away. Is this going to be reviewed? Something along the lines that teachers will have more power to discipline children?
Well, I think that what the South African Schools Act does is that it puts day-to-day discipline in the hands of educators. But obviously, if there are serious transgressions, this then becomes the function of the school governing body. What we've been doing throughout this year is training our school governing bodies to understand the school safety strategy, to understand the disciplinary code in schools, and to take action. Because I think very often when serious incidents occur, the governing bodies don't take action. And that's what we want to encourage. So that there must be a line drawn by a governing body. It must be generally accepted that some kinds of behavior are going to result in your expulsion from that particular school community. They are not going to be tolerated in the school community. Yeah. What we are busy looking at the moment is a legal opinion on if a learner is a habitual offender, and if that learner is putting teachers at risk and other learners at risk, are we entitled to exclude them from the schooling system? So we've asked Senior Counsel to look at the two provisions in the Constitution, the right to learning and the right to safety, and advise us, how will we deal with habitual offenders? Yeah. I'm having a look at some feedback from Twitter over here, and I've had two tweets in a row, one from Francois, one from Ben Great, I think that's what his name is that how many learners will be willing to pay that R1 for an SMS to report the crime? I suggest the SMS line should be free. Francois also saying, why must the kids pay R1 to SMS school violence? It should be free. Perhaps it's something to look at. Well, the toll-free number, so you can phone toll-free. Yes. But the SMS line is where you're going to be paying the R1. Another person saying that it's a good thing to announce it on television, but you should use other powerful media, the newspaper, and going into schools, because a lot of pupils are already at school now as we're speaking. So I mean, that's something that we are doing. That is the advocacy campaign that we're talking about. We're going to go in schools, give out pamphlets, and so on. Yeah, excellent. Well, I mean, these are things that are going on right now, and okay, this is pretty much so what we're doing there. Okay, so what should the community do to ensure that they understand the negativity that children are going through and the impact of violence? What can we as a community do to try and curb this violence? Look, I think what each and every one of us has to do as parents is to take responsibility for instilling a moral code in our own children. Because after all, good behavior has to start in the family. It's not easy to parent a modern child. We all know that. But we can't give up on that responsibility. And where we find we have a good relationship with parents, you will often find that you have a better behaving learner. So that's something that I would want to say to all parents: take that responsibility. But when you do get that call to say, little Johnny has not been behaving at school, please come and see the principal, don't go there in a combative attitude. Go there with an attitude that it's in little Johnny's best interests for there to be a partnership between the parent and the school. And go there and ask, how can I help you as a parent to allow the school to help little Johnny better?
All right. MEC, thank you for joining us. Thank you for talking to us here on Morning Live. Gauteng Education MEC Barbara Creecy talking to us about the crime line that's been around for a long time, but it's now really being pushed that school children use it. 32211. That's the SMS line. Costs you R1. Just tip off there. It's an anonymous line. And then the toll-free number, 0600 10 111. That's that number. Thank you very much. Let's take a